Hello and welcome to the MHR Podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Alice.
Alice, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay today.
So last week we talked about Christmas.
Yes,
Doesn't mean Christmas is over. I thought the running theme of this month is we'd talk about things before everyone else has dealt with it. So we've talked about wrapping up for Christmas already and New Year planning. We've talked about Christmas before everyone's dealing with it. I thought we could jump into a topic that actually a lot of people will start talking about in January because it's kind of like your back to work blues. But
Right.
I want to take more of a scientific approach to it and actually offer some meaningful advice that we've got from our HR team.
Interesting, a bit of a
Yeah.
different take then. So what is that topic?
So I wanted to talk about something that I think has got an increased awareness of in recent years, but I think goes a bit unknown and I don't think is properly addressed by a lot of organisations yet, which is seasonal affective disorder. Have you heard of that before?
I have. I think this is the SAD acronym that I've heard around.
Yeah. So it's not something I had too much awareness of, but in the last recent years, I think it's something I've heard more and more about.
Same here.
And there has been a lot more research into it and understanding kind of actually what this means. And actually, it's relevant for everyone who works in an organisation who may be impacted by that. So there's relevant advice we can offer in regards to how HR teams and organisations can support employees who are suffering from a bit of seasonal affective disorder.
Right.
So do you know what it is?
I was going to say, for anyone that might not know what it is, should we go into a bit of a background behind it?
Yeah, so it's a pretty common condition, actually, and it goes mainly unrecognised because, again, it's not really addressed or talked about, and it can link to our mental health. But we've got a few guides, and the tips that we've got on our website covers it a bit more in detail. But it's seasonal affective disorder it's occasionally referred to as winter depression. To kind of generalise it a bit. It's a mental health condition that typically causes depressive symptoms over those months of the year. And I think it's kind of like a common, the more you think about it, actually, these things come into common dialogue, don't they? In the winter months when everyone's like, it's just, the days are dark, they're not very long, I'm not getting much sunlight, I need more vitamin D, I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling lethargic, I just don't feel really up to it, I feel down, I just want to rest and stay. These are the kind of conversations people have, and this all links to this type of thing. It's when people go, I'm going to buy a sun lamp, make myself feel a bit better. Kind of linked to all of this kind of dialogue.
Okay.
So what causes SAD is not fully known, but it is more likely to occur in winter.
Okay.
And the main theory is that it's caused by lack of sunlight, like we said, shorter days. It can impact your circadian rhythms.
Okay.
It can impact your, it's impacting your reduced sleep quality, lack of vitamin D production, serotonin levels again. So all that happiness has been zapped out of you because you've got that energy in you. This can all lead to all kinds of symptoms. I think you're going to go through the symptoms in a bit, so I won't waffle on about it. But ultimately, just because it occurs in winter doesn't mean it's exclusive to them. It's just a lot more prominent for a lot of people in those months.
Yeah. I can imagine it's a bit more prominent now because we were talking about Christmas last week.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of excitement, adrenaline around that period of festive time of year. But I think importantly that we are bringing awareness that that we do have mental illnesses that can crop up at times of the year, which I guess external factors out of our control, like you say, the longer nights and lack of sunlight, or you might be getting less sleep if you're up and busy at this time of year. But like I say, there are symptoms that indicate SAD or seasonal affective disorder. So what we're really trying to say is bring a little bit of awareness about what it is and what the symptoms are, and essentially that it might not kind of be experienced on this side, but actually come January we talk about the January blues, and I think there's a Blue Monday that is there as well.
This is the interesting thing. So it's worth noting that SAD obviously is a recognised condition. It's a recognised disorder that people need to seek help with and get support with, and people and HR teams can support, and businesses have responsibility to help. But it can be confused with holiday blues, but it isn't the same thing. So that's when you've got the emotional stresses of the period of feeling the kind of the pressure of what's just happened come with you, which causes anxiety and sadness, of course. Maybe financial pressure. We talk about that in the well-being element all year. So removing those stresses doesn't necessarily prevent SAD. SAD is more about that seasonal change throughout the year, which leads to that vitamin D, serotonin levels. It's nothing necessarily to do with Christmas. It's to do with the seasons changing and how that affects your body, causing those conditions. So there is a slight distinction, whilst they can be quite aligned in ways. They're, in a way, they've got to be treated like separate conversations.
So a couple of symptoms of SAD then. So it is a depressive condition. So many of the symptoms of SAD will be similar or SAD for people that know it that way. So these are, like I say, just a couple of them, but what we're seeing is kind of most common associated with the condition. So you've got low self-esteem, and again, with low self-esteem, it could be in your private life or, corporately as well. So essentially, you've got that low self-esteem. You might also experience, you've got a bit of irritability, fatigue. Like I say, it kind of correlates to that lack of sleep. You might have feelings of guilt. And I think something to kind of think about here is a lot of these are quite generic, aren't they? We've all, as humans, you're going to experience them. But if you are feeling a combination of these symptoms, it might be this SAD condition. So alongside that, you might find it difficult to concentrate. And so if you can imagine that you're experiencing these, they probably all are accumulating and probably making you feel worse for wear, essentially. And then there are some physical symptoms with this as well. So there's not clear causes with these physical symptoms, but you might experience cramps, headaches, and aches. So like I say, these are just a group of those symptoms. But again, just to be aware of what they are, and they could be indicating that you have SAD.
As well as obviously sleeping too much, hypersomnia, overeating, lethargy, or finding it difficult to get up in the morning. These are things that we might all softly associate with during those seasons. But obviously for some people, that's going to hit more of an extreme, and that's it. It's understanding where you fit on there in terms of how much am I being affected? Do I suffer from this disorder, and how much help can I get to support that? So it's being aware of these things and being able to have a conversation about it, so you can direct yourself to some support and get that from your organisation and your social network.
Definitely.
So, what can HR people do to support employees with SAD? Well, we reached out to our professionals as a HR, payroll, finance, analytics, learning, you name it, we know it. All about the work expert business that we are. We went out from some advice. So we've got some top tips. In fact, we've got 6 top tips that businesses can do to consider how to support employees. One is raising awareness and educating employees.
Right, so in terms of raising awareness and then educating your employees, HR can assist in offering training programs for both managers and employees. And I think that's quite a key thing to know, that it's not just the high level that like the managers you need to be targeting, but right down to the employees, because essentially we always say that communication is the best way forward. So you might find employees want to talk to each other rather than their manager. So get everyone trained up, get them all on that program. And
it goes back to everything we say, isn't it? It's actually like, if you know these things exist, we need to make sure there's a culture in the organisation that allows this to be addressed. Otherwise, you're going to hide behind it, you're not going to get support, and then it's going to affect your work and affect your personal life. It's just going to snowball. Not to use a Christmas or seasonal-based pun, but it will snowball.
Absolutely.
2 then is encouraging open, stigma-free conversations, which kind of follows on, right?
Does follow
Once
on,
you've raised awareness and education, you can then start conversations.
Definitely. A top tip within that is HR could lead on those leadership behaviour. So, like I say, showing that you can be vulnerable, you can be open. And I think in a lot of those situations, you do need a leader, don't you? You need someone to set that example that, like I say, you're building a culture and that it's okay. And I think it then has that ripple effect
really
for your business.
And tip number 3 then was, so once you've obviously started a conversation, you've raised awareness, you now need to promote that you have resources to support people. So they have somewhere to go to educate themselves, somewhere to go to ask for support, and there's something there that enables to support your employees' well-being. So HR can raise awareness of those resources. It's about making sure you've got employee assistance programs in place, which can provide confidential counselling and support services. Promoting that means that people feel that they're more at ease to kind of seek support without going into a space where they may feel judged, or where a colleague that might know them, so they have to act in a certain different way. HR can also provide information about mental health first aiders, our peer support networks within the organisation, ensuring employees know how to turn up for support in the moments of distress when they need them.
I think that shows for a business that it's a continuous support mechanism that they have. So even if you've got a campaign at the moment that's promoting unawareness of SAD, for example, but having that resource means that employees, no matter what time of day or if they're not experiencing now, but they might do in the future, they've got somewhere to go. And like I say, having those key personnel as well around the organisation is another layer that you can support your employees with.
So tip number 4 is encouraging healthy place work practices. So it's all very good going, let's have a chat about it, or let's raise awareness, here's some guides, but actually you're going to practice what you preach, which is more vital. It says, okay, so say I'm struggling, I have SAD and I need to talk to someone, and I go and I pick up a guide or read something that my organisation gives out to help. Well, now I need to go and actually do the doing of it, not just learning about it. So it's about making sure that you incorporate wellness initiatives into your organisation, such as encouraging employees to take regular breaks outdoors, to organise walking meetings, to support better mental health. HR can advocate for these practices, but it's simply an effective way to combat isolation, lethargy, and often, which obviously are things we've just talked about there, but it's also making sure that that outdoor exposure enables people to have the opportunity to not feel trapped or in a dark office or in an artificial light, to feel like they're a bit more in touch with a bit of sunlight, vitamin D, and boosting those serotonin levels. So it's making sure that it's okay having the conversation, but what are you going to do to enable people to break out that cycle?
I was going to say, like subtle changes, isn't it? But actually can have quite a big impact.
Massively.
But it comes down to encouraging the practice in the first place.
And a lot of employees need that encouragement to feel like they can just do something without feeling like they have to ask for permission. It's about going, no, we have an encouraging culture here, which is about you seeking what you get. Like, go outdoors, do what you need to do, work the way you need to work to help your own mental health. Yeah,
that links quite nicely to our tip number 5. So this is cultivating a supportive work environment. So essentially kind of what you went through there. As a HR team, you can foster that supportive environment. So making sure that you are actively encouraging managers and that the managers are feeling equipped. So double checking that they have the capability of having those empathetic conversations, that they feel comfortable being that person to have the conversation. In that way, you can, train managers if they say not quite there yet, but you can train them to create a supportive, understanding work environment, or that they can offer additional assistance. So essentially, I think it's teamwork, isn't it, really, and helping to create that work environment. But there'll be different ways that your business can support that. So examples this blog gives is that you could have flexible work schedules. So that's one example a business might take, or you might have task management support. So what systems do you have in place? So like I say, it's not just to do with the people, but what systems do you have in place? What processes? Where are those resources?
Which leads nicely into our next point, which is how you monitor your employees' well-being. And we mean that in an encouraging way, not like, are you feeling sad? Are you feeling sad? What are you doing? Like, it's more a case of actually going, how can HR gather feedback from employees to go and get a better understanding about how maybe seasonal effectiveness disorder or other conditions are affecting them in the workplace, so they can start making plans, even if that's anonymous surveys that you're putting out there, to go, okay, we've recognised that these things are coming back. What can we do to create a more environment? Because we're actually collecting the data and we're able to use that to make informed decisions about how to help our employees. So by tracking those trends, it could be to do with absenteeism is always a great piece of data to help you understand, well, why is that happening? Why are people away at certain points? Is the season affecting that? Is it mental health issues? Is there financial pressures? What's contributing towards that absenteeism? And what data can we use to look at that in our people systems? Productivity, employee engagement, especially during the winter months, monitoring that data really helps. So that way HR can implement, like say, if there's additional measures and go, okay, we've seen the effects of SAD in practice in terms of our productivity, in terms of how we're working as an organisation. Now we can put some incentives to improve that over those months. It leads to better well-being, but it leads to better productivity. The company's better off, people feel more supported, and we've got a more healthier culture that talks about mental health.
Absolutely. So it sounds through our top tips that HR teams or managers is they could really kind of be proactive with this and spreading awareness of SAD. But essentially, I think it sounds like you need a leader. You need someone to take that initiative to, like I say, to kickstart a culture that makes employees feel like they can talk about it or they can reach out for support. But like you say, it's within the realms of HR's responsibility that eventually it comes back around and that you have a more productive, supportive culture for your business.
And I think that's the point. If you can use those hints and tips to embed that from a HR perspective down throughout the business, people can self-serve and start feeding that community and start contributing towards that conversation so everyone feels it's accessible. So everyone can lead that initiative to make sure the culture is very inclusive of mental health issues, concerns and employee well-being.
Definitely. So if you listen to that podcast now you're thinking, I can't remember what was spoke about 5 minutes ago, we have got a blog on our website. So the title is What is Seasonal Affective Disorder? So if you go onto mhrglobal.com, you'll find it under our blogs on the website, and you can take another read about all the points that Andy and I have discussed today. And you can also have a look through our top tips that we have from our HR team here.
We also have lots of mental health guide resources available on our Knowledge Hub as well, so that you can use across your business or just educate yourself in terms of how you can support your employees with a range of mental health issues or concerns. So please make sure you have a look. Until then, I hope you're enjoying the festive period as we build up to Christmas. I think we've only got one more left of the year after this.
That is crazy, isn't it?
It is.
Goodness me, it goes quick.
Yeah, so we'll see you next week for the last one of the year, maybe.
Unbelievable. We'll see you next week.